We don't have a property in this world, although we may think like that. But actually, we don't own anything here. Therefore, when we are talking about renunciation, it's impossible without knowledge of spirituality. Attachment to the spiritual means the renunciation from material, because it's impossible to renunciate in some other way. And so it's impossible to get knowledge without Krishna, because he is the source of knowledge. The knowledge which doesn't lead to the source of everything is not a knowledge. It goes in cycles, and it will never comes to any conclusion, and it will have no sense. This is more like mental games, mental exercises than knowledge, which would liberate us from miseries. Material knowledge doesn't liberate us from miseries. It may give some fantasies, some illusions, but actually it will never give us any happiness. The world won't change for better. This material dharma is illusory dharma. Therefore, so we are now in a stream. So here is the lecture of Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, a living entity is traveling around the whole universe. And sometimes it gets on this planet, sometimes on another planet, sometimes in this body or in another body. And this way is will just cycling here from the time immemorial. Although, but when it's fortunate, when it will contact with the real guru, it will get Krishna. And by the mercy of Krishna, he will gain a guru, and by the mercy of guru, he will gain Krishna simultaneously. If he is really if he's really serious toward Krishna consciousness, this is very important. When we hear about Krishna, therefore satsanga is urgent. It wakes up our Krishna consciousness in the heart of everyone, because everyone is a part and particle of Krishna. For example, a boy who left home in some way, he abandoned his rich father and he became a mendicant, but he may remember who he is. The same way, we are the children of the very rich father. Unfortunately, we forgot. We think that we are American, I'm Indian, I'm this, I'm that. I'm working hard to live in this world. So the greatest charity is Krishna consciousness. And we are reminding people that you are the sons of such a great personality. Why can't you come back to the home of your such a great father? This is our mission. So education is really important. when I understand that I am rotting in this abominable place, not just this planet, but any place in this world, even if you go to Brahmaloka, even it's impossible to count how long is life. Nevertheless, wherever you go, it's impossible to escape it. So this knowledge, the Krishna consciousness, even higher than Brahmaloka. So this is the great charity, Krishna consciousness, to awake Krishna consciousness. It's possible to awaken it if we can dedicate ourselves to Krishna consciousness. This is Archana. This offering Arati, Bhoga, and Shravanam Kirtanam, chanting Hare Krishna mantra and hearing. These are the devotional processes, 9 processes. So this is called Bhakti Yoga. So here it is said, Vasudeva, Krishna. Who is Krishna? Bhagavan, Bhagavati. He is not ordinary person. He is Bhagavan. There are many Bhagavans, but the original Bhagavan is Krishna. So in this way, Krishna is the supreme. Therefore, here it is said, Vasudeva Bhagavati. Don't consider Krishna as human being. Because he comes to show actually what is God. He comes as human being. That doesn't mean he is like us, human being. Just like in the prison house, if sometimes the governor goes to inspect and the prisoners think, oh, now governor is also one of us. He has become prisoner. Just like Mahatma Gandhi went to the prison house and the pickpocket, if he thinks, now Mahatma Gandhi is also one of us. This is wrong. This is wrong. Because he is Muda, the pickpocket, he is thinking that Mahatma Gandhi is also like me, or the governor, he has come into the prison house, therefore he is also like one of us. No, out of his mercy he comes. People are searching after God. The so-called speculators, big scholars, they're trying to understand God. God may be like this, may be like that. Why may be? You do not know God. Just admit that you do not know. Why are you cheating? Maybe means you do not know. So why don't you say, I do not know? But these rascals will say maybe like this. And why maybe? Here is God. I'm like this, Krishna says. Krishna says, here I am. And he is worshipped by all sages, saintly persons. When Arjuna admitted to him that Krishna, you are Para Brahman, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam, Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam. You are Purusha. Purusha means enjoyer. Shashvata means eternally. Not that you are now enjoyer and formerly you were something else. No, Shashvatam Purusham Adhyam, original. So this is the appreciation of Krishna. After reading Bhagavad Gita, if you do not understand Krishna, if you try to banish Krishna, then what kind of reading of Bhagavad Gita? This is all nonsense. If actually one understands Bhagavad Gita, if he has actually studied, then just like Arjuna, he'll admit, oh, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. That is Arjuna's experience after hearing Bhagavad Gita. And he said that you are accepted by great personalities, Asita, Narada, Vyasa, Devala, big personalities. So Swayamcha, you are also speaking yourself. We have heard from Shastras and authorities, and you are speaking personally. Therefore, I accept you that you are the Para-Brahman. This is the study of Bhagavad Gita. So God is explaining him personally, and he is accepted by authorities not only in days of yore, formerly, but recently, within 500, 700 years. Big acharyas, Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vishnu Swami, big achar, stalwart, latest within 500 years, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everyone accepts Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And these rascals are searching out what is God. Just see their rascaldom. God is here and he is searching. So those who are searching after God, and they are, if they are making some proposition, thesis, they are all nonsense, cheating. You do not know God, you admit, that is very good, but why you are making thesis? God is not subjected to your mental speculation. That is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Pantastu Kotis Shata Vatsara. We have got experience of flying by the airplane. It goes 500, 600,000 miles per hour. But here it is said, Pantastu Kotis Shata Vatsara Sampragyam Yo Vayor Adhapi. On the airplane of the speed of air or on the speed of mind. You can understand the speed of mind. You are sitting here, immediately you can go to London, 10,000 miles away. The speed of mind you can understand, so here it is, even on the speed of mind, not this 1000 mile speed or 500 mile speed. On the speed of mind means within second it can go millions of miles. That is the speed of mind, so it is said Panhastu, and with that speed, if you go on, Kotishata Vatsara Sampragyamach, for many millions of years, to find out where is God. If you go on for many millions of years to find out where is God, it is impossible. You cannot. And by whom? Muni Punga, great saintly persons. So still, Avichincha Tattva, still it remains Avichincha Tattva. You cannot understand. Nayam Atma Pravachanena Lapyach. In the Vedas it is said simply by argument, speculation, you cannot understand. You have to understand God or from his representative. Otherwise, it is not possible. That this is the process. So therefore it is said that Vasudeva Bhagavati, if you engage yourself in devotional service, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga, not other yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Hatha Yoga, they will not be appreciated. Because in the Bhagavad Gita it is said, Krishna said, Bhaktyamam Abhijanati. Krishna never says by process of Jnana or Karma or Yoga. No, you cannot. Bhaktyamam Abhijanati, or he speaks to Arjuna, Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktosi Priyosime. So without bhakti yoga, there is no possibility of understanding what is God. Take it for certain. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita says, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitah. If you apply Bhakti Yoga The Bhagavata says, if you apply Bhakti Yoga in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva Bhagavati, then what will be the result? The result is Janaya Tyashu Vairagyam Gyanam Chayat Ahaitukam. Two things required for perfection of life, Jnana and Vairagya. Jnana means perfect knowledge. What is that perfect knowledge? Aham Brahmasmi. I am not this, American Indian, or this and that. I am Brahma Vastu. I am part and parcel of God. God is Para Brahman, and I am also part and parcel. Therefore, I am also Brahman. The part and parcel of gold is gold. One has to realize that I am not this body, matter. I am spirit soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Soul. That is called Jnana, not that MA, PhD, DHC. These are not Jnana. They are different expansion of Ajnana. The so-called university education, DHC, PhD, they are simply expansion of Ajnana. He is again. Therefore, the more a person is so-called scientist, educated, he is more godless. That means he is going deeper and deeper into the Ajnana. Because Jnana means to know God. That is not Jnana. Bahunam janmanamante Jnanavan mam prapadyate. Not Ajnanavan. So if you do not know God, if you do not know what you are, if you do not know what is your relationship with God, then what is your Jnana? That Jnana for eating, sleeping, mating. The cats and dogs, they have God. Do you mean to say to have better knowledge how to eat nicely, how to sleep more nicely, or to have sexual intercourse nicely? Is that Jnana? No, they are all Ajnana. They are the business of the cats and dogs. Real Jnana is to know Aham Brahmasmi, Brahma Bhutah Prasannatma Nashochatina. So, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojatah. If you apply Bhakti Yoga to Vasudeva, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of, then very soon, Janayat Yashu. Ashu means very soon. Janayat Yashu Vairagyam. Just see. These boys and girls of America and Europe, they were too much addicted because their father, mother, their civilization is to be attached to material enjoyment. Actually, they were, now see their Vairagyam. Practical. There is no theoretical. As soon as you engage yourself, Vasudeva Bhagavati, these young girls, one of my students she's girl. She was a great artist, dancing girl in Australia. She gave up everything and came to me. Swamiji, make me a disciple. I saw her father and mother in Australia, a very beautiful girl, very big heading in the newspaper that such and such girl has left everything. This is Vairagya. Very profitable business she was earning. All of them. They are all qualified. They are not like our Indian boys and girls. Hare Krishna. Dear senior devotees, maybe somebody would like to add something, or maybe Maharaj will start. So the microphone is on. I will hear your discussion. Please start. Who is ready? Okay, so probably I will start. As usual, lectures of Srila Prabhupada are every time they open some new aspects and or depth in his preaching, in his lectures. And also he said that you can read Bhagavad Gita again and again, and every time you will open new depth of knowledge, of understanding, because Bhagavad Gita is bottomless. It's not. It's just like Krishna, and it's not knowable to the end, just like Krishna. And I admire the depth of understanding of Bhagavad Gita when devotees give lectures. I would like to discuss an interesting thing, the topic which is touched by Srila Prabhupada, the very verse that thanks to devotional service, thanks to devotional service, it's easy to person easily gets knowledge and vairagya. And Srila Prabhupada starts from Vasudeva, how great that Krishna was born like a son, is a son of Vasudeva and Devaki. And this is a very interesting phenomenon, how the Lord is born, although he is unborn. This is a mystery here, because in their past lives, Vasudeva and Devaki, they were making austerities, performing austerities. As Krishna said, the one who understands my divine activities and my birth, this person will never be born in this world. Because the secret will be open for such person and he will love God. It means that he would understand rasas, relationship with God. 5 rasas, one of which is parental rasa. And then Prabhupada says that it can be understood only by Mahatmas, by the great souls who are taking shelter at Daivi Prakriti, an internal energy of devotional service. And finally, Jnani can reach, these souls are rare. Then Srila Prabhupada says about the symptoms of Mahatma service. And the most interesting, and what I would like to discuss, he said that to step on the path of bhakti, of devotional service, it can be done by those who are done with sins. And those who are being engaged in pious activities, I would like to discuss what does it mean under Sukriti here, or pious activities. Pious deeds. And because we are now studying Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, in this 4th chapter, Krishna describes different forms of pious activities and yagyas, because we know that when a person performs its prescribed duties by the Vedas, yagya is born in after that. And Krishna describes that there are different yagyas. Brahmachari yagya, and for those who are worshipping demigods, those who would like to reach liberation, Brahma yagya. And these are all prescribed duties, and Krishna says we may widen this list. Those who are serving their master, or a wife is performing her prescribed duties, or a husband. The result of these yagyas is a purification of heart. They get knowledge. This is jnana. This is not yet bhakti. They get jnana. So as a result of pious deeds, heart is purified, and then people get knowledge. Srila Prabhupada also said about that. It's a rare thing, and it leads to knowledge, to understanding that there is a shreyas apart from prayers. And my question is for discussion. We see that in our society, people who were performing pious deeds, they may not come to the path of bhakti, and people without any piety in the past, sometimes even animals, they step on the path of bhakti. Jiva Goswami gives an example of Gajedra. This is a special mercy, because Srila Prabhupada says that pious deeds, they lead to bhakti, but not always. If you remember that Srila Prabhupada says, but not always. It can lead to jnana, but bhakti originates from pious deeds, and pious deeds, bhakti starts when we meet devotees, with the process of devotional service. But my question is for discussion. Why sometimes devotees who met devotees, guru, and they stepped on this path of bhakti, but sometimes they have difficulties. They lack this knowledge and understanding. What is it? Lack of pious deeds, and maybe we should ask people to be pious in all respects, and follow the prescriptions of Vedas and so on. I don't know if my question is comprehensible. If there are any comments. So your question is addressed to everyone or to somebody in particular? This is question for everyone. If somebody in particular, yes, I can address it to Chaitanya Chandra Charan Prabhu. So I'm asking all devotees to signal in some way that they want to speak. So who is ready? Or maybe my suggestion may be not very important. Maybe you may suggest another topic. Chaitanya Chandra Charan Prabhu, if you feel the usefulness of this topic, you may also start. I would like to listen to discussion. This is a good start. Thank you very much, Kravajana Prabhu. This is a good beginning. You described everything we heard. Prabhupada gave us a big review of Krishna consciousness in this lecture from the beginning to the end. And he gave like a big picture of Krishna consciousness, and your question is a good one for discussion. I would like to listen to devotees of this region, to the leaders, may them speak. we should address somebody. We may address this question to a particular person, otherwise devotees out of humility they kept silent. So let's listen to Srimad Goswami Prabhu. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all Guru Parampara. First, thank you very much to everyone, especially to the organizers, for the opportunity to listen to Srimad-Bhagavatam and the Association of Devotees. It becomes sweeter. And as for the question of Karabhajana Prabhu, could you, I will repeat your question. Why devotees who already met Guru, some way or other, they cannot reach the goal, or as you said, they, maybe Karabhajana Prabhu, you would remind me, they don't have this understanding. I may once again repeat the question. Srila Prabhupada today said that he was talking about pious deeds which lead to the end of sinful activities and to the results of sinful activities. So, pious activities means prescriptions of Vedas. It is called karma. And Krishna in the 4th chapter describes various types of prescribed duties as yagya, which leads to purification of heart and knowledge. And Srila Prabhupada says that this type of activity is not always leads to devotional service. Therefore, we make a conclusion that pious deeds per se, they are not the reason of bhakti. The reason of bhakti is only bhakti or meeting with devotees, Guru and Krishna, and so on. The very process. So we already met devotees, and therefore we stepped on the path of bhakti. But however, we feel the results of. We feel lack of knowledge. We have some difficulties on the path of devotional service. So difficulties on the path of devotional service. And the next is maybe we should be more serious in seeing pious deeds, so that devotees would perform pious deeds, then purify their hearts, and then they would get knowledge. So this verse says about exceptional place of devotional service. So devotional service to Krishna, to Vasudeva, Paragya, Jnana, and Ahaitukam are born after Bhakti. So causeless knowledge and renunciation. And Srila Prabhupada in the lecture, he speaks in detail about God, that we cannot know Him to the end. So in other words, the Krishna consciousness of Bhakti, it is self. If person practices Bhakti, everything comes automatically after that. In other words, Krishna consciousness, we don't have a duty to perform some pious activities according to Vedas, because if a person simply practices Shravanam, Kirtanam, and so on, then this is enough. And it is said about that in all Shastras. This is the essence of message of Acharyas and of the Lord Chaitanya and of Srila Prabhupada also. As for pious activities, for example, I would say this topic as Bombay and Yatra and they were criticized for opening hospitals, and some devotees they spoke that this is not a pure bhakti. In other words, opening of hospitals, this is not anga of bhakti, but from on the other hand, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said in Chaitanya Shikshamrita that devotee, if he wants to preach Krishna consciousness, he shouldn't behave inadequate to people. We must earn their trust, including these pious activities. For example, distributing food per se is a pious activity, but devotees they spiritualize this activity, and this food distribution becomes a distribution of prasadam. And the same in Chowpati, they didn't just uh, healing the body of people. As far as I know, in every all people in that hospital are devotees, and people are listening to Prabhupada's lectures, to Mahamantra there. And if a person gets in that atmosphere of satsanga, he he may easily become a devotee. So the pious activities in Vedas, if devotee uses that in preaching purposes or for supporting or for maintaining his material needs, devotee does it in the way so that it wouldn't contradict shastras. And on the other hand, this activity would give some good to people. And the Lord Chaitanya said about in Chaitamrita, but it's really difficult for devotees to survive in towns. Grihasthas were suffering all over the world. It's very difficult to survive in the conditions or in modern conditions, and for that we need some communities, and we need to learn to live on the land. And devotees they spiritualize their activities, where devotees live, then all the activities are spiritualized. And in conclusion, I must say that Krishna consciousness is a self-contained process. It doesn't matter where we practice it. If we chant Hare Krishna anywhere in the world, it will be quite enough. As for charitable activity, whatever we do, we need to spiritualize this process. We need to do it to earn the trust of people, especially now. ISKCON lack social weight in the society. If we will do some right things and cooperate with government, we will earn their trust, and in the end, they will be able to turn to Srila Prabhupada, to ISKCON. Even hospitals, we don't need the very hospitals or food distribution, but if we saw this atmosphere of piety around us, then we'll be able to tell people about the pure devotional service. This is my understanding on my level. Thank you very much. I agree with what you said. And however, my question was, Yes, of course, when a person is performing bhakti, then knowledge and renunciation come to them. My question was why we don't get it as easily as we would like it to get. Why we don't understand so quickly that we are not body, because the understanding that we are not body, that we are not the mind. When we just step on the foot of the devotee, then we see that, or if we have some difficulties, we start to condemn people around us, although we are engaged in devotional services, in the anga of devotional service. There are so many difficulties in our relationships, and not all qualities of demigods are manifested in us. And why is it so? I also was, but she's not Nagaswami Prabhu. Everything you said is according to Bhakti, and Bhakti is so omnipotent and also self-sufficient. I'm sorry. Maybe somebody else would like to speak something. So I would like to say about the difficulties in the practice of devotees. So we ask somebody else, and then in the end you will add something. If Chaitanya Charan Prabhu has something to say, yes, please continue. Mata Javantika is ready to speak. Mata Javantika. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my obeisances. I'm not ready to speak. I'm listening. And in the question of Karabhajana Prabhu and in the question of Shishnatana Goswami Prabhu, I see two sub-questions. The first is pious activities, which was spoken of Srila Prabhupada, which leads to bhakti. And the second sub-question is why devotees commit some mistakes or they feel difficulties in spite of practice of 30 and 40 years or during that time. As for the first question about pious activity, we know that simply pious activities may not lead to bhakti. Only bhakti leads to bhakti. And Shishnatana Goswami Prabhu said about it that bhakti is not doesn't depend on anything. It is svarat. Only contacting with angas of devotional service, we may gain the opportunity to be engaged in devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada, as an example, he gives, he says that a person, if he's if a person cannot do anything in devotional service, he may just go to Ganga and be purified from sins. The Ganges is a sacred river, is a sacred place, and many saints are taking bath there. So, contacting with this type of devotional service, we may also get some bhakti. As for difficulties that devotees they feel, this is knowledge doesn't come quickly because the fruit must be ripened. And Prabhupada said about that green mango is also mango, but it's not mature. So the conscious knowledge and renunciation, they may not be manifested right away when a person get in contact with devotional service and started devotional service. There is a path which devotees follows, and the part of this path is anartha nivritti. When devotee is purified from those unwanted qualities or influences of his karma under which he is. Another thing I would like to say, the one who is on the path of devotional service, we know that he's in a shower. These anarthas, they start to manifest, and the devotee not always has enough support to overcome these anarthas. Sometimes he's get under their influence. And another thing is Krishna, for such a sincere devotee, he he leaves something like his karma. And devotees, he feels these difficulties for his purification. If he goes through these difficulties correctly, he makes conclusions, and in this way his consciousness is also grows. And these difficulties in this way, they are not anarthas, they become his artha, his value, because going through them he gets his experience. And we know the experience is a son of mistakes. This is what I wanted to say. I don't know if I could answer this question, but this is my understanding of some aspects of this question. Thank you, Mataji Avantika. This is a discussion, so we don't expect that we will answer fully this question, but thank you for your addition. So maybe we would ask Chaitanya Chandra Charan Prabhu to speak. Maybe I will speak in the end. I want to listen to devotees. Nidhi Prabhu? Hare Krishna, please accept my obeisances. Dear devotees, dear Maharaj, I'm I didn't want to speak. I wanted to listen to you, but if you switched me on, so I will speak a little bit. I'm not really surprised that devotees, they commit mistakes after 30 or 40 years of practice, because we are small particle of jiva in the material world, and this material body is in a huge material world, and 30-40 years is not such a big period which would change this material world, and body is changing, is not in a better direction. So mistakes will be, but in this text and the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about that Krishna comes into this world. And this is our hope. This is our main hope, because we may perform pious deeds, but as I said before, we are small particles covered by matter with different several layers. We may commit impious activities, and we don't have. We may not really hope that one day we will become good and all this matter, we'll get free of this matter. Our hope is that Krishna is coming into this world. Krishna comes as a son of his devotees. Krishna comes as a friend of his devotees. Krishna watches this world, and this connection is our hope. Prabhupada, he speaks in the lecture that he gives an opportunity to choose. He says that we need knowledge. If we have knowledge, we may perform some yagya and then grow on the higher planets. If you cultivate something else, then we'll go lower. But if you want to know God, you must hope on Him. And that Krishna comes into this world. This is an amazing thing, because in other traditions they don't have it. There are many traditions where God cannot come into this world because He is so pure that this world is not suitable for Him. And this world wouldn't tolerate this purity. Because in that traditions, this world is created out of nothing. But in our tradition, Krishna creates this world out of himself. Therefore, he may come here and he may help personally to anyone at any moment, or to everyone altogether. So I will stop here. Mataji Kamala, we are hearing you. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my obeisances. Abhiram Prabhu wrote me and I couldn't refuse him. I wanted to listen, all senior devotees, but now it's very interesting for me. Everything is said. Shiksatna Goswami Prabhu, that even green mango is still mango, and what Madhyavantika said and Karavajana Prabhu said. This question is very responsive to me, and I think that I won't speak something really. I will just express my understanding. It's not a secret that we need practice Nama Rucha Vaishnava Seva and Jivadoya, and if one of these aspects is absent, then we won't grow, we won't progress, and therefore maybe we go through anartha nivriti with devotees, but when we preach, when we serve in a mode of jivadoya, then we have some small joys which would help us to overcome our anartha nivriti and also to compile our sukriti which we lack, about which Srila Prabhupada was speaking. Prabhupada said that we need to engage always in such activity, and Krishna also speaks about activity in the Bhagavad Gita. And often devotees, they are just in the mode of listening to lectures and they stop acting, and then this circulation of prana stops, because Krishna is always speaking about activity, get up and fight. And so the task of senior devotees to organize this activity so that all three processes were active. For example, the hospital of Ranganatha Maharaj, and we also opened the school and the kindergarten. There are new people They are all just to help. When they start to help, later they start to visiting lectures, they start to chant holy names. And so we engage them this way, and we are also progressing. This is what I wanted to say. And also, I think that often it's very we must teach devotees to speak about themselves, because many devotees are afraid of Vaishnava Paradhas, and they have some feelings, and they are afraid of speaking about their feelings. And this limited communication leads to cold relationship. This is what I wanted to say. Hare Krishna, my obeisances. Thank you, Mataji Malika Mala. Mataji Radha Krishna. Hare Krishna. Do you hear us? Hare Krishna. Please accept my obeisance. Could you speak louder? Please accept my obeisances. I'm sorry, I will speak closely. Dear devotees, I'm no senior devotees. I'm not a senior devotee. Just by some mercy I got here, and I didn't want to speak. But when devotees, senior devotees, they say that I should speak, why we came here and not, I will tell about my own experience. We comes to Krishna consciousness torn apart. We don't know morals, we don't knowledge, we don't have right understanding, and we are reading books in a wrong way. I'm serving in the Department of Education. And why we start to get together after that state? Because Vedic education is different. It gives the whole vision, which our mind cannot get at once. Vedic education gives us at first it says who is God, that He created everything, and it says about our state which we should come to, and also give the goal right away. And at first we are attracted by the goal, and we go, and finally we are searching for the happiness in this material world. This knowledge gives us the pure original knowledge, and this is what I want. Maybe I'm speaking for myself, and this is what attracts me. So Vedic education, which Srila Prabhupada was speaking about. Thank you very much for your responses, which were very, very comprehensible to me. And I came to the conclusion that we are attracted by the result. And only after that we can perceive that, oh Lord, He gives everything. And all my actions will be transcendental if they will be dedicated to Him. And in the last turn, I'm a servant. And I'm searching what does it mean to be a servant. As we were speaking in the USSR, that we had a consciousness that we need to destroy everything, and that we are not slaves. So it's very difficult to perceive that I am a servant, because we wanted to be an enjoyer. So Srila Prabhupada was speaking about education, but the complex education, correct education is given. Of course, some things, some topics are very complicated, and we need to perceive them gradually, and we need to practice this knowledge so that we get the taste that this knowledge is real. This is the method of education which is given by Vedas. I would answer like this, that everything depends on how we came here unprepared, and we are all interested in the result. It attracts us, but what would leave us here? This is a right way, and the knowledge which Srila Prabhupada gives us from his books. This must be our tradition. If we won't give this result, goal, or this knowledge correctly, then the person may not stay. He must be always reminded what is our goal. Without it, the person may stuck somewhere. So we need to repeat the Sambandha all the time, so that the person would always be in this Sambandha. So there is the Lord, this is me, and this practice is influencing me. So I agree that we would commit mistakes, that our actions must be pure and our motivation must be correct, but it is possible if we give this knowledge correctly. And I agree with Mataji Mali Kamala that if I got something, then I try to transmit it right away, because we know that 90% is stays of knowledge stays with me if I try to teach this. Thank you, Mataji Radha Krishna. So probably this is now your turn to speak. I thought that there are more devotees here. Okay. Okay, I will speak something because it's a very interesting discussion. Thank you to all devotees and organizers that you make these discussions. This is very good. Prabhupada said about stress and praise in his lecture. He explained that praise, this is some quick enjoyments and people are striving for them, and Shreyas is highest goal, the highest good, highest good. And as Mother Jagda Krishna said, that we don't see the whole picture and don't understand it. When we study philosophy of Krishna consciousness and the path of bhakti, we don't get it. We get it part by part. And so Prabhupada gives us two terms. There is praise and shreyas. But by the time when our bhakti is progressing, as senior devotees were speaking about it, then there is a unification. Bhakti unites everything, and it unifies everything. And if there is a Shreyas Bhakti, then there is a praise. And right now we can feel the joy and satisfaction. We may always be happy in this process of devotional service. So these things are divided in our consciousness. When we don't know about Shreyas, then we don't even have a praise. Therefore, bhakti must not be separated from other processes. We see there is karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga, according to Bhagavad Gita, and also there are many other ways of yoga. Every chapter of Bhagavad Gita is some yoga, and then we see that we don't need karma, we don't need dhyana, we need only bhakti. We don't know that bhakti like swallows everything, all these steps. This is what Radha Krishna said, that this knowledge comes by the time, just like in the purport of this on this verse, Prabhupada says that there is in Shastra methods which are recommended of charity and penances and getting knowledge and mystical powers and other methods of transcendental self 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 consciousness. And in the beginning, he says that people they are striving for that because they think that devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is just like a material sentimentality, something just like material feelings. But in the end, Prabhupada says that all the forms of activities, of a higher grade activities, sacrifice, charity, austerity, etc., are all corollary factors following the pure and scientific bhakti cult. So people, they feel their happiness through charity, of course, immediately. But the reason of this charity must be bhakti. So what is bhakti? Bhakti is service, pure loving service. And this is its unique nature. It may penetrate in any sphere of service. We may engage karma, jnana, yoga, anything. This is bhakti, which can unite everything. But in the beginning, there may be an impression that we need to refuse it, deny it, without we read that it must be without any karma, jnana, and we think that this form of activity it needs to be denied. But in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is discussed when Krishna speaks about charity, austerities, and charity. Some people say that they're material and we don't need them. People think that it's needed, and Krishna says that sacrifices, charity, austerity purify only great souls, even great souls. We shouldn't stop it, because bhakti may be manifested through karma, through jnana, through meditation, or maybe some other methods. So this is they must be like instruments of bhakti. This is what Sanatana Goswami Prabhu said, that this instrument of bhakti was a hospital in Chaupati. They make the hospital into instrument of bhakti. But from the outside, it seemed to be like material pious activity. But we must spiritualize it. This is this principle of service. And when people they engage into charity, sacrifice, and austerity, doing some good things, even without bhakti, they gradually they are purified, and they glorify Bhagavad Gita, glorify sadhu, and they perceive the subject bhakti. And it is recommended, even if a person has not bhakti, it is recommended for him to be engaged in sacrifice, charity, and austerity, because it may lead to bhakti. And for those who already have bhakti, they are good instruments. Therefore, it may unite us, because we are already practicing bhakti, and you just ordinary people who are practicing these good activities. So we may practice it together, but we must put the spirit of bhakti there. This activity is material, it is wrong, but we may give an example and we may spiritualize it. We shouldn't deny these good things, which are already here in the material world, which can be engaged in devotional service. It depends on how much we can engage in devotional service, how far we can penetrate into this spirit of devotional service. It depends on the opulence of which personality. It's it's impossible to make all people devotees, but Prabhupada could do it. Prabhupada said that we cannot make trees and animals dance, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could do it. So the power of bhakti is limitless. So any person may be engaged in bhakti yoga, and independent on the power of the source which we get bhakti from. So the Lord Chaitanya, he connects everything with Sankirtana Yagya, the highest sacrifice which any person can be engaged in, of any occupation, of any social status, a woman, a child, a Vaishya, or lower than that, anyone. This is spirit of bhakti, of the Lord Chaitanya, that it doesn't matter your varna, your occupation, be in this place, just chant. So we get this mercy to distribute it into this world where we live. We must put this principle of bhakti in any area of life. But so far we can distribute prasadam, books, we can communicate with devotees and speak on some topics. We may some simple things to people about karma. We can do something already. And in this process, bhakti is becoming stronger, and there are more mercy in this process. That Krishna is in this world. This is what important. Our mistakes are not as important as the presence of Krishna in this world. This is what I wanted to say. If we have some more time, we may also discuss some other questions. Dear devotees, you may also add something, you may comment. If I understood you correctly, I will try to summarize. Yes, we have an understanding that bhakti is a process of self-sufficient and very powerful, and all angas of devotional service, although as long as we are here in material world and we are conditioned, Srila Prabhupada says that he says about Swadharma, our prescribed duties, and also Sanatana Dharma. And it seems that the devotee beginner is conditioned by his Swadharma. And although devotees are not dependent on anything, but however not to harm the sprout of bhakti, we need to keep our pious relationship with all living entities, so that not to offend the holy name. And most likely Srila Prabhupada means this, that we will spiritualize our activity. We need knowledge to spiritualize, but to spiritualize our activities and get our Krishna consciousness there, and to use everything in devotional service. I agree that correct activity, engage everything in Krishna consciousness, then, because as long as we are conditioned, there are two sides. There is Svadharma and Sanatana Dharma for understanding. And we need to spiritualize it. to connect mostly to we know angas of bhakti, but we don't notice the higher knowledge and renunciation. On the contrary, we have a question, probably we are not performing bhakti correctly. Maybe when we don't have our understanding is not deep enough. So Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, now it's to you. I was attentively listening to you, Karabhajana Prabhu. Thank you very much. I would like to come back to this question of difficulties in spiritual life. And this is an objective thing that practicing 20, 30 years, we see that we have difficulties still. And when you were speaking, I remember the verse, the famous verse where he says that Hakimov, a person has no material desires, but or a person is full of material desires. He wants moksha, or who has a wide-broaded mind. And this word tivra is very interesting. It means very, very intensive bhakti. So Shukadeva Goswami just not just speak bhakti yoga. He says tivrena bhakti yogena. If person practices very intensely, then he quickly gets all knowledge. And we see that some devotees, very fortunate devotees, they join and through several years they get perfection, reach perfection, and they go to the spiritual world where they are very glorified personalities. They were in the times of Srila Prabhupada, like Jananda Prabhu, and in our times recently, Radhika Raman Prabhu left his body. I remember him as Bhakta Pasha. Then he became a champion of Sankirtana, and he was distributing thousands of books, although it wasn't really easy, especially in Moscow. Now this book is called Krishna, and many Moscow dwellers, when they see this word Krishna, they really don't like to see it. But Radhika Ramana Prabhu, he distributed so many such books. But he left his body very soon in Yamuna. But sometimes when we don't practice like that, and we also commit offenses, and it is described in Srimad-Bhagavatam, for example, like Chitraketu Maharaja, who he was a very exalted devotee, but he joked at Shiva. It is said that they were friends, and Chitraketu Maharaja, he allowed himself to play a joke on Shiva, but Parvati took seriously this joy, and she took it as Vaishnava Parada, and he had a serious reactions. And Maharaja Bharata was also on the very high level, but little inattentiveness and little attachment led to bad results. So we must see that there are difficulties even on the path of great personalities, but bhakti, as we know, there are no other ways. Even a small progress on this path saves from the greatest danger. Therefore, the quantity of difficulties and the speed of getting knowledge depends on the intensity of our practice. And there are, of course, there are secrets of bhakti, the secrets of successful spiritual life, which are described in the books of Srila Prabhupada. It means that we need to find some sangha or sangha of bhakti. Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Chaitanya Chintamani, he says that we may get rid of all anarthas in several days. And when we read it from acharyas, this is a very serious. He says that we can get rid of all of them in several days. But we need really to plunge into this process. We need to really practice it. This is what I remembered when we were speaking about difficulties. And once again, I ask myself about it, if I'm practicing it really. And if we don't practice it, Hare Krishna. So, Karabhajana Prabhu. We may, maybe we can make a conclusion that pious activities per se, they may not lead, they may not be the source of bhakti. They may be like a help on this way to bhakti. If a person is pious, he is inclined to charity, and maybe he will buy a book and donate to some devotee. So devotees, they are practicing bhakti, but they don't have an understanding and a deep experience of how to spiritualize our life, our pious deeds, our relationship in the social life, in our family. We don't know how to spiritualize all these activities, and sometimes we put many anxieties into these areas, and we don't get rid of our anarthas very quickly. Can we make such a conclusion? Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu, this is a question to you. As you said, there are many forms of bhakti. Spiritual practice starts with Shravanam, but not just with Shravanam, but Shravanam about Krishna, Vishnu. This is the power of this practice. If we're listening to something else, it may not be really important in our life. It must be connected with Krishna. Therefore, Shravanam is powerful, because it is connected with powerful Krishna. And we may listen to anything. We may be gotten under the influence of various things, but if we connect our ears with Krishna, it becomes bhakti. Although the feeling of hearing is material, but the source of hearing is spiritual. If we are hearing about Krishna, our ears are spiritualized, our consciousness is spiritualized. This is bhakti yoga. And when a person performs bhakti yoga in various ashramas, in various varnas, here we must be attentive, because we may not differ who is devotee, who is non-devotee. For brahmachari bhakti yoga, this is sadhana in the temple. This is bhakti yoga for them, pure bhakti yoga. Mangalarati, studying Shastras, all morning programs, distributing books, Sankirtana, some other service in the temple, in the altar. This is bhakti. For grihasthas, he must work. He has a job, and we call it karmic job. Is this a part of his bhakti or not? This is the question. Why he's suffering? Because he cannot connect something with Krishna consciousness. This is Maya, this is anxiety. So Brahman Kurma, he wanted to leave everything behind when he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is very famous verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. He didn't want to stay in family. He wasn't interested in his occupation, in money, in anything. He just wanted to go with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forever. But he said, never, never do that. Do what you do. Stay where you live, but just speak about Krishna. Connect with Krishna in your circumstance, and Krishna will liberate you himself. You cannot be liberated by that way. Krishna liberates you. So you must see which forms are for grihasthas and for brahmacharis and for sannyasis. Sannyasis taking shelter into knowledge and vairagya and cleanliness. These factors are most important for them. They must not work. But grihastha, he must work. So it's different. When grihasthas are working, are they in Krishna consciousness or are they in Maya? So that we would support this ashram in spirit, we need to understand how to spiritualize our contact with matter in the form of grihastha ashram, because brahmachari and sannyasis, they don't contact with matter, but grihastha, he contacts, and he has so many main difficulties. This contact, this touch between matter and spirit, there is difficulty. And we are speaking about this principle, how to spiritualize everything, Shravanam, Kirtanam. And then Prabhupada says in another place, do what you can do the best. What you can do the best way. In another place, he said to the disciple that our relationship are eternal. This is from the letter. He said that our relationship are eternal, but we may not meet in the end. It depends on your efforts. Just like a bunch of birds, they fly in the air and they may not help each other if somebody will be late. This is the law of nature. It's impossible to wait for someone. So the main thing in this sense is a personal power, personal effort. This is what we need, our personal power and determination. The weakness of grihasthas now, of grihastha ashram, that we depend on the society, which gives us wages and pensions and so on. This is in the way we maintain our life. If we come into ISKCON with this consciousness, then we lose ourselves, because ISKCON is for another goal. It's structured in a different way. This is like a front, this is like a field of battlefield with Maya. We can't wait that somebody will organize something for me. It's impossible that someone will do something in my life for me. I'm already in the air, I'm in my airplane, so I must use instructions and cultivate my own power, my own determination. Sannyasa ashram cannot be. Sannyasa ashram needs determination, but grihastha ashram must need this determination to overcome difficulties. We must be very, very much determined and cultivate our Krishna consciousness, and don't be conditioned by our circumstances, but to develop Krishna consciousness. If we're speaking about sadhana of grihastha ashram, I don't know if you know the example that any grihastha would follow all morning program and also working and maintaining his family and give good donations to the society. I will hardly find these examples. They have different sadhana. And also there is a question, if we are speaking about sadhana, Grihastha, he cannot strengthen his sadhana. He has different sadhana. We must understand that there must be flexibility here. It must be intelligent. We must see. In the villages, Prabhupada was speaking not about 16 rounds or services. He said just in your free days you sing kirtan and you feed each other. Prabhupada gave different instructions in ISKCON. Even in ISKCON he gave different instructions. Of course we have 16 rounds and 4 principles. Otherwise we will be useless. Now, this is the final standard. Prabhupada was speaking about 64 rounds, then 32, and then said 14. 14. So Prabhupada, he gave opportunity to any person to be engaged. We must give to anyone these opportunities in ISKCON. When I cannot progress, then I have a feeling of anxiety. So our task is to organize ISKCON in this way that all devotees would feel that, so they had believed in themselves in Krishna and in sadhana bhakti, because thousands of devotees, they're losing faith in themselves because they cannot make this contact between matter and spirit and how to engage our life in devotional service. They don't believe, they lose faith not in Krishna and Japa, but in themselves. They think that I'm a Grihastha because I don't know if I will be able to do it. This is the practical things which we were talking about. So I tried to speak about it. Thank you very much, Chandra Charan Prabhu. Maybe for several minutes we will be able to speak about the questions of audience from YouTube. Just a short time, maybe 10 minutes. There are more than 230 people in the audience of YouTube, and maybe senior devotees are listening to us. So now there is a question. So one question is already answered. So another question is from Dayamaya Prabhu. If bhakti doesn't depend on sattva guna, then why Srila Prabhupada said to cultivate this sattva guna? Because moreover than sattva guna conditions with family and work, and we see that devotees under the influence of rajas are more active than under the influence of sattva guna. Karabhajana Prabhu will answer. Sat mode of goodness, bhakti doesn't depend on modes, but we who try to practice bhakti, unfortunately, we are under the influence of modes of material nature. It would be good if we would be under the influence of sattva guna, but unfortunately, often we are under the lower modes. Therefore, to practice bhakti the best way, we need to know, we need to differentiate. Being in the conditioned state of in the modes of material nature, we won't be able to effectively get the mercy from bhakti if we are in the lower modes. Therefore, we must cultivate we need to know the symptoms of mode of goodness, this purity, punctuality, determination, knowledge. This comes from the mode of goodness. And at the same time, we are practicing bhakti, independent bhakti. And at the same time, we try to do it in the mode of goodness. I don't know if it's correct or not. Was it correct, the answer of Karabajna Prabhu? Yes, Karabajna Prabhu, you must repeat your answer. Maybe you will answer without video. It's most effective when we know the symptoms of mode of goodness, and we practice bhakti. When we practice these symptoms of punctuality, purity, cleanliness, and then our bhakti will be very powerful. Yes, there was an answer. So goodness is necessary for our purification. Bhakti is a pure platform. And the mode of goodness in material world helps us to get rid of contamination and to go into the sphere of pure bhakti. So we are lifting there through the mode of goodness. From the Tamaguna we go to Rajaguna and then to Sattvaguna. It's impossible to jump from a mode of passion right away to pure bhakti. And the mode of goodness is purer than all other modes. Therefore, we live in goodness, because mode of passion, it tears away the spiritual connection, and the mode of ignorance. In the mode of ignorance, we lose it at all. And of course, in passion, we can perform service, but it will be not a pure devotional service. It will be connected with our career, our glory. With such motives, it will be mixed. But in goodness, we may get rid of these motives. So, pure bhakti depends on modes. No, bhakti doesn't depend on modes, but we depend on modes because we live in them. And bhakti, we must follow this path of bhakti with our own feet. As Prabhupada said, that we, just like birds, we must work with our wings. Somehow devotees, they think that modes, they must just disappear somewhere, but we are in modes, and we must choose the mode of goodness, and we must walk this path by our own feet. Unfortunately, there is a bad internet connection. So probably we have to end here. There is one question here from Evgeny. The power of bhakti, Depends on what? It doesn't depend on anything. But Prabhupada says the simple example of iron and fire. And how much of hot is iron depends on the contact with fire. And here is the same. The more intense your practice, the more powerful is your bhakti. But bhakti itself, this is fire. It's not an iron. There is only fire there. It doesn't depend on anything. Fire will burn anything. Thank you. Another short question. Alexander asks, you said what impressions you had in the Samadhi of Srila Prabhupada. This is difficult to describe, very difficult to find an analogy. What is Vrindavan and Samadhi of Srila Prabhupada? We are the followers of Srila Prabhupada. We not just feel the spirit of Prabhupada. We are connected with his personality immediately, so it's very difficult to describe what I feel in the Samadhi of Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan. It's not so easy. It's not just spirit. It's deeply personal relationships. For example, Prabhupada in Samadhi of his spiritual master, he got instructions for preaching in the Western world. This is what I mean. Not just an atmosphere. Yes, you have a very close personal relationships. Andrei from Ukraine asks, please, I have so much service. I want to serve purely, but right after service I fall every day, but don't lose hope. What should I do? It's difficult to say what is falling here. Okay, let's speak about the mood. The mood. It means that performing service we may wait for some result, which may not come quickly. Therefore, we may feel some internal unsatisfaction, dissatisfaction or disappointment in this service. Falling means breaking regulative principles. This is a passion, a mode of passion, and you cannot spiritualize passion. Passion, of course, it requires sensual enjoyment after job. It happens automatically, like a nature of material world. After work, you must enjoy. After work, you must enjoy. This is a usual mode of material life, which we cultivated for ages, for many lives, that after each effort we must get some enjoyment. So it's natural that some sensual thoughts may influence us after some efforts. Materialists working like that, after work you must come and then you have relationship, you have a wife and they live or work sex all their life. This is the mentality of karmic activity, so don't be surprised that you may be attracted by the thoughts of some sensual enjoyment after your work. But gradually, when you will do it for Krishna and you will have relationship with Krishna, you won't need these enjoyments anymore, because the Krishna will be there. You won't feel the need in that. But now you feel it. It means that so far you're not on a spiritual platform. This is a criteria, so just go on. Just go on to move forward. until you overcome this platform. Thank you very much. The question from Svetlana. All the pain and sickness, illnesses are from God. Does it mean that God is inside of us and explains what to do? All illnesses and medicines are from God. Illnesses come so that we would search for the medicine, and the main medicine is we were searching for this medicine for many lives, but we were searching for this medicine, and this is the reason of sickness is to find the medicine. The question from Atchiharita. Dear Guru Maharaj, what is a spiritual intelligence? Karabhajna Prabhu knows. Before answering, I would like to remind we were speaking about only 10 minutes for questions and answers. So I'm reminding about it. Spiritual intelligence. So this may be the last question. Spiritual intelligence means, Krishna says in many places in Bhagavad Gita, two things I may think of. The first moment is that intelligence which is not connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead will never a person which intelligence is not connected with God will never get happiness in this world, and will be in accord with his mind. And also in 10th chapter, Krishna says that he gives intelligence. And spiritual intelligence means when I understand that Krishna is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, that I'm his part, and my supreme duty is to serve God, including what we were discussing today. Understand that everything belongs to God, including our body, and we must engage everything in his service, and our family, and so on. This is intelligence, spiritual intelligence. So we may finish here Yes, the time is out. Yes, we must finish here. Thank you very much, Chaitanya Chandra Charan Prabhu, for the participation in this discussion. Thank you for the Sangha. Thank you for being in this Sangha of Srimad-Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada. I would like to have such meetings maybe once a week. With senior devotees of our region. This is such a great service. So let's do it regularly. It's a great thought. This is a great Sangha. So we were discussing the 7th and 8th verses of the first canto and second chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam. So next Friday we plan to next verse, 9th verse from this second chapter, to discuss and Srila Prabhupada's lecture of 1972. So we will go verse by verse in this time. I hope next time we'll get more senior devotees. Dear devotees who were asking questions, Chaitanya Chandra Charan Prabhu, from Monday to Friday, you may address these questions to him in other times. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. My obeisances to everyone.